A self-absorbed man who exploits older women for their wealth unexpectedly finds himself drawn to a waitress with a hidden agenda. A vain man named Nikki is about to leave a luxurious mansion, absorbed in thoughts of his extraordinary handsomeness. He backs this up by recalling when he got physically involved with his mother's best friend. Strolling down the street, he reflects on his initial arrival in Los Angeles, where he harbored dreams of achieving fame, amassing wealth, and indulging in the company of women. Fortunately for him, most of those aspirations manifested into reality. Later that evening, he makes his way to a nightclub, where he crosses paths with Samantha, his latest object of desire, and endeavors to win her over. Initially, the stunning lawyer turns down his advances, but in time, falls for his captivating tactics. The wealthy woman then takes the self-absorbed man to her lavish house. While they share a private moment, the promiscuous man deliberately holds back, making sure not to give his all, knowing it will leave her longing for more. The following morning, Samantha awakens and tells Nikki she's off to work. In response, he deploys his manipulative move known as the rollover sleeping smile to captivate her further. Instead of asking him to leave, she grins and leaves him a note, authorizing him to purchase breakfast using her credit card. While Samantha is at work, Nikki relishes his time in the luxurious house and takes the initiative to prepare a meal for the wealthy lawyer. He intends to win her trust and extend his stay. When the legal professional returns home, the manipulative man treats her like royalty, serving her dinner. When Samantha asks Nikki about his employment, he admits he's not actively pursuing job opportunities. Despite this revelation, the woman is drawn to him, and they eventually share a passionate moment on top of the dining table. This pattern continues over the next few days. While Nikki continues to pamper and enchant Samantha, he quietly secures a comfortable life without her realizing that he's simply exploiting her for her wealth. One day, the lawyer mentions her upcoming trip to New York, which will keep her away for several days. When she invites him to accompany her, the manipulative man declines, and they agree that he will remain in the house. After dropping Samantha off at the airport and wishing her a safe flight, Nikki throws a house party and invites a large crowd, including his best friend Harry, who shares his womanizing tendencies. Their conversation is abruptly interrupted when the self-centered man notices his intoxicated and affluent ex-girlfriend Helen at the party. He worries that she might disclose that the house isn't his, leading him to instruct Harry to drive her home. Suddenly, another woman named Christina interrupts their conversation and asks for a tour of the house. Nikki indulges his attractive guest, leading to a passionate yet fleeting encounter with her. After the party concludes, Harry returns to Samantha's luxurious house after dropping Helen off. Nikki, in a generous gesture, offers a spare bedroom for his friend to spend the night. The following day, the deceptive man receives a call from Samantha, concerned about his lack of response to her calls from the previous night. In response, the self-centered man insists he didn't hear the phone ring, not disclosing that it's due to the noise during the house party. Shortly after, the lawyer informs him they will have guests over when she returns home in the next few days. The following morning, Nikki invites his friend Emily, who is well aware of his deceitful nature. He attempts to initiate a physical encounter, but she stands firm in her desire for a serious relationship, which ultimately drives the promiscuous man away. Shortly after, Emily approaches him, suggesting they spend private time together in the bathtub. Later, they move to the bedroom, where the woman endeavors to persuade him to commit to a serious relationship with her, but he continues to decline. Subsequently, Nikki drives his friend to the parking lot and then returns to the house to spend time with Christina. To his surprise, Samantha arrives home earlier than expected and catches them in the act. The lawyer confronts him for hosting a house party, leading to a heated argument about their relationship. In the end, they agree to stay together, even as Nikki continues his womanizing behavior. When Samantha is out of town again, Nikki enjoys pancakes at a coffee shop, where he encounters Heather. She promptly declines his advances, but when he requests her number, the waitress hands him his bill. However, the flirtatious man writes his number and leaves without paying for his food. Frustrated, Heather traces Nikki's location and shows up at the lavish house, demanding that he settle his bill. He tries to entice her inside, but she declines. After displaying the money, the angry waitress takes the cash and storms out of the house. Intrigued by the mean waitress, Nikki finds himself unable to stop thinking about her, causing him to lose interest in Samantha. To capture Heather's attention, the self-absorbed man revisits the coffee shop, enlisting Harry to play his assistant while he assumes the role of a wealthy businessman. Upon spotting Nikki's luxurious Mercedes parked outside, Heather warns him about the possibility of receiving a parking ticket. In response, the womanizer exits the restaurant and tries to charm the parking officer by attempting to dance with her, much to the amusement of the waitress. However, his ploy falls short, and he still ends up with a parking ticket. When Nikki returns to the coffee shop, the impressed Heather discreetly slips a piece of paper with her phone number into his pocket. That evening, the self-absorbed man calls the waitress, who can only promise to call him back because she's busy. Unbeknownst to him, Samantha witnesses this and instantly becomes jealous. The following day, Nikki visits Harry's apartment to store some of his belongings. He confides in his friend that Heather never returned his call. While Harry advises him to move on, Nikki remains resolute about his feelings for the waitress, implying his determination to pursue her. Shortly after, he playfully teases Harry about his pet frogs, and in response, his irritated friend kicks him out of his place. Nikki then returns to Samantha's residence to unwind and take a swim. Later, he finally receives a call from Heather, who invites him to join her for dinner. That evening, they meet at an upscale restaurant. While enjoying their meal, Heather receives an unexpected call and abruptly excuses herself, leaving in the middle of their date. Offended, Nikki follows the woman as she exits and confronts her about her rude behavior. However, she appears indifferent and simply drives away. The following morning, Samantha confronts Nikki about seeing someone else, but the self-absorbed man denies it. Shortly after, she asks him to drive her to the hospital and pick her up the next day. After fulfilling the lawyer's request, Nikki heads to the coffee shop, discovering that Heather no longer works there. That evening, to his astonishment, the promiscuous man finds the former waitress swimming in Samantha's pool. Still upset about what transpired the other night, Nikki confronts her for abruptly leaving during their date, suspecting she might have a boyfriend. However, the woman explains that her teenage brother, who has multiple sclerosis, had a sudden emergency. She breaks down in tears, which prompts Nikki to offer his comfort and support. After their conversation, they share a tender moment, being close to each other. However, Heather expresses her desire not to rush things and take it slow. She then asks him to embrace her, leaving the man yearning for more. The following morning, Nikki takes the woman's keys to relocate her Porsche for street cleaning. However, upon entering the vehicle, he realizes it's not hers. He deduces that it belongs to her boyfriend, noticing the presence of cigars inside. Feeling hurt by her deception, he returns to the bedroom, tosses the keys and clothes onto the woman, and sternly orders her to leave. Afterward, Nikki picks Samantha up from the hospital. The medical professional informs him that the woman has had surgery and should avoid romantic activities for a while. Over the next few days, Samantha notices that Nikki is no longer responding to her calls, leading her to end the relationship. Before evicting him, she warns him, remarking that he will eventually lose his looks and face the same challenges as everyone else. Filled with anger, she delivers a hard slap to his face. Right before he leaves the house, his phone starts ringing, causing the jealous Samantha to toss his device into the pool. Homeless and needing help, Nikki reaches out to Harry, but his friend doesn't open the door for him. He then turns to Emily, who only responds by hurling insults at him for his promiscuous and manipulative behavior. Desperate for a place to stay, Nikki attempts to make amends with Harry and agrees to meet him at an exotic dance club. His friend's friend Sean helps him to enter the establishment. Observing Harry and Sean's behavior with the performers, the homeless man becomes disgusted by how they treat the women and attempts to intervene. However, this only leads to a confrontation and fight. As a consequence, Nikki is thrown out of the club. When Harry points out that the women inside are exotic dancers, the vain man advises him to stop objectifying women. In response, the offended Harry highlights his deceptive friend's hypocrisy and asks him to leave. In search of a new target to secure a place to stay, the homeless man attempts to crash a party but gets turned away at the entrance. The following morning, Nikki attempts to reconnect with Harry and goes to his apartment. However, his friend only throws his belongings at him. Penniless, he winds up at a budget motel. He tries to contact his mom, but she hangs up when he reveals that he still doesn't have a stable job. Determined to live comfortably again, Nikki goes to a hotel the next day and targets a wealthy woman. While flirting, he suddenly spots Heather, who confronts him for pursuing someone older. In response, he confesses his real situation, acknowledging that he is financially strapped and that the luxurious house was never his. Following this, he discovers that Heather is also doing the same scam on wealthy men. Heather then invites Nikki to her apartment apartment, giving him a place to stay. Upon entering, the woman informs him she has a pothead roommate who never leaves the bedroom. Shortly after, Heather reveals that she ended her relationship with the owner of the Porsche she used to drive and has now moved on to another target, who takes her to a fancy dinner that night. The next day, Nikki begins helping Heather attract the attention of a wealthy man, and afterward, he asks for a share of her gains, a request she finds utterly ridiculous. Upon reaching the apartment, Heather tells Nikki to sleep on the couch. However, the promiscuous man insists on sleeping beside the former waitress, and they do the deed. After that romantic encounter, they begin dating and getting to know each other better. While dining at a restaurant, a woman suddenly approaches Nikki, but he can't recall her name, which offends her. To avoid paying, Heather discreetly hands Nikki a piece of foil and instructs him to chew it with his food. When he starts reacting negatively, the manipulative woman calls for the waiter, claiming they're leaving because there's something in their meal. The next day, the couple enjoys a beautiful day at the beach, sharing an intimate moment as the sun sets. Despite their deepening relationship, Heather continues to go out, leading Nikki to suspect that his girlfriend is still pursuing wealthy men. One day, while Nikki is asleep, Heather receives a package from DHL. As she opens it and takes out a letter, rose petals spill onto the floor, causing her to clean them up swiftly. When the man wakes up, he discovers his girlfriend looking distraught on the porch. When he asks her what's wrong, the woman shares that she has ended her engagement. Learning about this, Nikki gets upset because Heather didn't inform him anything about it. The woman then discloses that her former fiancé is a wealthy man who owns the New York Rangers, but she decides to end the relationship because she's in love with Nikki. When he inquires if she genuinely loves the wealthy man, she confesses that she didn't fake her feelings the entire time. Curious, Nikki asks if Heather pretends to be in love with him. In response, she asserts that her feelings for him are genuine because she has stayed with him despite his homelessness and lack of a job. Upon hearing this, Nikki feels insulted and departs from the house. He goes to a coffee shop to eat and turns down the advances of a woman, realizing that he wants to abandon his carefree ways and commit to Heather. Before returning home, he picks up a newspaper and is determined to show Heather that he can secure a job and provide a bright future for both of them. However, when he enters the house, Nikki discovers a note from Heather stating that she flew to New York to resolve some matters and advising him not to set the house on fire. After reading, he attempts to call her multiple times, but she doesn't answer. The following day, while at the supermarket, the man crosses paths with an old and intoxicated friend and offers to drive her home. As the woman throws up outside the car, Heather suddenly calls Nikki and claims that she's not with her ex-boyfriend. The man pleads with her to return home, but his girlfriend explains that things have become complicated. Suddenly, she starts hearing that Nikki is with another woman. The innocent man tries to explain that he's with a friend, but when Heather discovers that the woman's car is a Mercedes, she hangs up, assuming he's reverted to his previous ways. Back in Heather's apartment, a desperate Nikki attempts to talk to his girlfriend's roommate Eva, who finally exits her room. After revealing his problem, Eva encourages him to take action and fly to New York so he can propose to Heather. She then drives Nikki to Harry's apartment, and the two friends finally reconcile. To show his full support for his friend, Harry covers the cost of Nikki's airfare to New York. Upon arriving in the city, he follows the address mentioned on the package that Heather received from her ex-fiancé. He then knocks on the door and sees his girlfriend in elegant clothing open the door for him. Knowing that the woman is upset, Nikki clarifies that nothing has occurred between him and the woman she heard on the phone. After learning this, Heather then invites him to come inside the luxurious house. Upon looking at his surroundings, the man attempts to convince her that she's not leading the life she truly desires and that everything is superficial. When he suggests that she come home with him, Heather declines, noting that she sees no future with him. Despite her hurtful words, he takes out the ring and proposes. However, Heather rejects him, revealing she has already married her ex-fiancé. Nikki then suggests that she consider getting a divorce, but Heather declines, explaining that she needs a comfortable life. Suddenly, Heather's husband Will arrives, leading her to introduce Nikki to him as a delivery person. After the older man gives the courier a tip, he embraces his wife and they share a kiss, which is a heartbreaking sight for Nikki. The devastated man leaves the building and flies back to Los Angeles. He then starts to rebuild his life by securing a job as a delivery person. On one occasion, while delivering groceries to Samantha's house, he meets the man who replaced him. He also begins living with Harry again, and when he returns to his apartment, he feeds his friend's bullfrog with a mouse.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.